Hello, Gaetano Fedele.
Hello.
Okay, so I'm very, very excited that you're taking time to hang out with me today. So thank you.
My
And
pleasure.
I am excited because I have so many clients who come to me battling performance anxiety. And I know a lot about it because I've been singing and performing for very long, and obviously consulting and coaching with clients for some time now. But because you're an expert and certified mental trainer who does this on an ongoing basis every single day with clients, sports athletes, and performers of all range of the game, so to speak. I wanted to talk to you about your top tips on battling performance and anxiety, and really just get info and valuable information on how we can be better on stage, essentially, as artists. So I wanted to start, though, by telling everyone all about you, because you're pretty amazing. So I have a bio, since you are a industry expert in my book, Performing Artist Pathway. And I'm going to embarrass you for a second and read a little bit about the bio. Okay, so Gaetano Fedele, certified mental trainer. You earned your master's degree in psychology with an emphasis in sports psychology. And during your impressive 21-year Air Force career, you performed, led, and mentored airmen to meet mission requirements in no-fail situations. Your military experience provided insight into the importance of remaining calm under pressure, having confidence in your training and abilities, staying focused on the objective, and being both mentally and physically prepared to perform. As a certified mental trainer, you fuse your military experience, mental training, skills, and sports experience to assist athletes and performers of all types in developing the skill set needed to perform in the zone. That's pretty awesome, man. So I had to share that because people need to understand what a bad mama gemma you are. And I think it's important that we kind of understand your background so that when we're listening, we'll know that you know what you're talking about. So first off, I just wanted to, introduce you, but then also talk about the expert advice, start us off on something that I've found with my clients on battling performance anxiety, which is kind of the preparation aspect of things. And I think a lot of artists, they think that if they overthink things or prepare too much, that their performance will become stale, or that it won't be creative, or they won't be performing from the heart, essentially. And so they confuse winging it and overthinking it with preparation, essentially. Have you noticed that or seen that in any of your clients, or you have anything to say about that?
Sure. I mean, a lot of times when it comes to preparation, that is the focus throughout throughout the game. But really, the focus is on getting as many rehearsals in as you can get in before it actually comes time to perform. The more prepared you are, obviously, the better you're going to do. So from your standpoint, I'm not sure as far as winging it goes, how that really helps you. I've never been in that situation, but I want to walk into the situation prepared. And for me, that would mean getting in as many reps as I can get in. So if you're an actress going on stage to perform for some judges, not only would I want to go to that stage and work out the layout and figure out where I'm going to stand and where I want to be and how I want to present myself, I want to do that at least one time. But then also, I want to put that thought in my mind, and then I would start using imagery or visualization to rehearsing and getting as many reps in as I can what I'm going to do for that performance. So they say practice makes perfect, right? So practice as many times as you can. You see yourself be successful, right? So if you can see yourself be successful 100 times before you actually do it, what do you think that's going to do for your confidence level?
Right.
It's going to help you. I mean,
right?
yeah, you're gonna see it to believe it. Yes.
Really?
So what I do is I help performers and athletes see it before they actually do it, so they can actually build that confidence when you're out there. They get
I
the
love it.
timing down. They have everything.
So, another thing that I love that you talk about is, and you just sort of tapped on it a little bit, is the visualization component. Um, and I love your quote from Performing Our Artist Pathway, and I'm just going to read it real quick because it's in a section talking about battling nerves and stage jitters,
Mhm.
which I've certainly been there. So visualization is a way to mentally rehearse the actions associated with your audition or performance. The key when you visualize is to not resort to a negative past or future performance with a poor ending. And I'm going to kind of repeat that. So listen up. The key when you visualize is to not resort to a negative past or future performance with a poor ending. You cannot control what people watching you think, so why be anxious about it? Ultimately, stay away from the past and future thoughts that can sabotage your hard work. If you find yourself thinking in the past or future, take a couple of deep breaths and reset your focus. So I just want you to take it away on this, because if I'm reading that, I'm going to take a couple of breaths and reset my focus. It's a little more involved than that, which I think you can kind of shed light on.
Yeah. So I'm trying to get as much in there as I possibly can about what I do, because it really is kind of complex, but it takes a lot of practice. So we'll just start with the very beginning. So if you're about to perform, and we all have thoughts come to our mind as we're about to perform and do something, whether I'm doing sport or performing, or I'm a professional giving a briefing to a group of people or giving a speech, whatever it may be. We're always performing in some form or fashion. And prior to that occurring, we have thoughts about it before we start. Sometimes those thoughts are going to be, oh, last time I did that, this is what happened. Okay, that's the past. And when you start thinking about the past, you kind of get angry, maybe a little frustrated, or you're thinking about the future. Are they going to judge me and think I'm horrible? Or you start visualizing yourself in a negative way, and that's a future thought. If you think about future thoughts, you're going to be very anxious. So let me ask you to do something, Brianna. Take take 3 deep, slow breaths right now. Let's go. Do 3 of those.
Okay.
What are you thinking about?
I'm thinking about how good that felt. Like, I'm thinking about, I don't breathe like that enough, that I don't slow down enough or ever to actually do that. And it feels very, not only relaxing, but very freeing.
Right. And the key thing you said there, breathe. You slow down your breathing and it felt good. But the key thing is breath. You're thinking about breathing, right? So if you're thinking about breathing, where's your mind? Is it in the past, present, or the future?
Present.
Present,
Nice.
right?
Yeah.
So most of the athletes I've worked with, when I teach them that, that was just a real quick. I didn't really go through all the details of it. That's just a, hey, breathe for me. Um, they realize, that's a skill that really helps them the most, because when you're about to perform, all those thoughts are coming through your brain. Some are future, some are the past. Where you want to really be before you start is in the present. And taking those deep breaths are one tool that we could use to help people who are performing get back to the present moment. Because if you're breathing, you're in the present moment. Door opens, you go on stage. You're in the present. You don't have, that's where you're at. You open that door, you go right out there and do your thing. Because you're trained, you're performed, you're focused, you're present. You're in the zone.
I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome. So how else would you advise, someone who's going to be, I work with a lot of clients who are either solo artists or who are in bands. And, they want to be in the zone, but they also have, a set list ahead of them and banter. So they have all these different moving pieces that they're trying to juggle, right? They're trying to remember all the lyrics, which at some point they're totally going to flub the lyrics. That's just a given. They're trying to remember, oh, okay, right here is when I should probably interact. Some of these artists have choreography. So, there's a lot of pressure on them to execute.
Yeah. I would say, start off, the first thing you got to do is get out there having fun, smiling, and enjoying yourself. That's
Yeah.
the first thing you got to do. And that's mental. If you're focused on all the moving pieces you have going on at one time, which is a lot of pressure on yourself. So how can you relieve some of that pressure? Some of it, like you mentioned before, is preparation. And I would start again with visualization. You visualize your performance. I'm talking about not just like, one song. I'm talking about take time. If you have 5 or 10 minutes to use imagery and visualization to see your performance, how you want it to go, see yourself performing. If you know that one song in particular is you have an issue with, practice it. If you can't practice it physically, rehearse it in your mind. And the more you do that, and the more you see yourself being successful with it, the better you'll be. Now, will it make you 100% error-free? Probably not. It takes both physical practice and mental practice to get there. It isn't just a cure-all, but there's many things you can do. Like I said, you got imagery and visualization, self-talk. As you're playing through, if you get a negative thought in your mind, recognize it, and tell yourself, hey, as long as I keep having a good time out here, I got my set list in front of me on paper, I look down and see where I'm at, everything is going to be perfect. That's staying present and positive, whereas you're letting the negative things go away. And the other thing is, I always talk about really one of the most important things is controlling the controllables. Okay? Once
So
you can
you would call those the skills necessary to battle performance anxiety, essentially.
pretty much, the controllables are simple. We have 5 things that we focus on. That's your thoughts, your feelings, your attitude, your decisions, and effort. Thoughts,
Can
feelings,
you repeat those one more time?
yes. Thoughts, feelings, attitude, decisions, and effort. You have control over all those things. You do not have control over how the crowd reacts to your performance, or whether or not they're mad because you didn't play a song they like, or you do not have control over people who are out there essentially judging you for an audition. You don't have control over those things. So you need to focus on what you're good at, and that's your performance and your skills. And so if you control your thoughts, negative thought comes in, how can I counter that? Well, I can take deep breaths. I can say, as long as I focus on what I've been training on, your feelings. You can control your feelings and emotions, attitude, decision. I'm going to decide right now to give 110% effort into whatever I'm doing. Things like that. All those outside factors. Sometimes for younger people, it's to be parents. They don't want to let their parent down. It could be their voice coach. Who knows? I don't want to let my voice coach down. It could be whatever it may be. Is young athletes and performers, they have a lot of pressure because a lot of people are hoping they perform well, and they want to make sure that they make their parents proud, or the coach, or the outside audience, and judging, and they worry about what people think. All people do, but really care about what people think. So I want to help these performers recognize what they can control, and you can't control what people think. So I asked them to kind of try to put that aside. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, it does. And then, I would love for you to maybe dive a little bit deeper into the visualization and imagery. And when you say imagery, I have an idea of what I think that might mean, but can you kind of build that out a little bit more for us so that we understand that better, or understand how we can implement that skill or create it? Or
Yeah. So I would start with, what do you do to maybe prepare for an audition or a performance? And I would say, for example, if you're doing a performance and it's the first song that you're going to perform, and maybe you're nervous about it, or maybe you have a hard time with the lyrics sometimes. I don't know. Depends on what you do. First thing is build an imagery. I call it an imagery script. Okay.
Imagery
Basically,
script.
script. Yes. So basically, I'd say, tell me. I asked the person I'm working with to explain to me the process they go through, for the first song. And what they're doing is when they explain it to me, they're recalling a past performance, pretty much. All right. When you're doing that, you're essentially you're visualizing a past performance right then and there. Okay. And so that's where we start to build off the imagery script. So I say, look, so as you see what you just said to me, that's where we're going to start. If you can either write that out, whatever is easier for you, or remember, but for now on, a couple of times a day, use that imagery to practice, get your rep in. As many reps as you can get in, the better you'll be at it. So that's where we start. Now, I take it another, a step further, kind of, we focus on imagery, before performance, sometimes during performances, after. So you want to do imagery before to prepare, right? To get in the zone, to focus, and make sure you've got everything set, ready to go. Now, during is if you're about to experience the next song, for example, our next performance gives you a hard time. So I said what we call flash visualize. Quickly use imagery to see yourself performing in that moment. You're going through the future a little bit, but it's positive. See yourself performing that. As if you have like 30 seconds, performing well and doing everything the right way you're supposed to do it. So you have confidence going into it. You already seen yourself do it, so you know you can do it fine. You just practice. That's during performance if you have the time. Then afterwards, because we like to go back, and most people are going to go back and think about performance anyways, but I want them to go back, visualize it, and pick out good things so we can build a success reel, and even a few negative things if you have to, so we can figure out, okay, what we need to fix. But I don't like to focus on past negative experiences because that doesn't really help us. But at the same time, if you could be constructive criticism on yourself, constructive with your past performance,
Right.
I want to look at it, have you visualize it, and then we'll build a new imagery script on how to fix what went wrong in that situation. Then you rehearse it. Does that what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think for some artists, they're going to, feel like, oh, that's a lot of work. Like, what? Now I gotta create imagery scripts but at the end of the day, if that's what it takes to set them up for success on stage so that the stage is not running them, but that they're in control of their performance and they're in control of their confidence, then it's absolutely necessary that they walk through those steps. And I think that, a lot of times, not just artists, but people don't realize and understand that they have control over their thoughts. The brain is very powerful, and it's not easy, but I do think it's a skill, like to literally flip those negative thoughts into something that's positive and something that can give them momentum versus living in that kind of dread, So, I totally appreciate you sharing, those steps with us. Absolutely.
I know it seems like a lot, and talking about it and words coming out, I can talk about it for hours, on how to do it. If you really, really want to think about it, it maybe takes 15 to 30 seconds to visualize one thing. That's it. Maybe it takes 5 minutes to write it out. Maybe, it just depends on the individual.
Right.
But it, a lot of people think that, oh, I have to do another thing to train mentally. It's a whole nother, part of my life that I have to give up, time. But once you learn the skills, it becomes, when you go out and perform, you do it pretty much automatic. Your body just kind of takes over.
Yeah, it's that like muscle memory.
Right. So once you start practicing the mental skill set that you have to practice to learn them, it becomes automatic, just like it does if you're performing.
Yes.
So and part of the process too is teaching you to recognize your thoughts. There's another skill I teach there, which I probably shouldn't go through right now because it's kind of complex. But it takes a minute. But maybe another time we can talk about that. Um,
Cool.
but once it all becomes, we want it to be habitual. That's the goal. So that you're recognizing your thoughts and, oh, wait a minute, I'm in the future right now. You need to stop that and take some breaths. Get present again. That's the ultimate goal, is to make these things automatic to where you're using these skills not even realizing that you're doing it.
Absolutely.
And these skills don't just work in the performing aspect; they work in all aspects of your life.
Yeah. We had a conversation one time when I was preparing for a performance, and we talked about two different ways to visualize the performance.
Yeah.
The first one being, I walk on stage, and I'm seeing myself. Like, I am literally watching myself walk on stage. What am I wearing? Do I look positive? Do I look composed? Do I look focused, confident? And I'm literally, me and my band or whatever it is, we're on stage. And then you said to flip it. And now, so that was sort of almost like the audience's view of me walking on stage. So I'm literally seeing myself, and then I flip it, and then I do it from the perspective of the first person, from me. So I see the audience, I see their reactions, I see their excitement, I see their support, I see their love, all these different, components. So it was a really cool way for me to visualize and prepare for that. And I love using that tool.
Yeah, for most, I would say first person is probably always the best way to go.
The first person.
Yeah, and if you want to set the scene and you want to see what other people see, that's fine. If you want to look down yourself as you perform, that's okay. But if you do it in the first person, I'll take you to, especially if you're playing an instrument or whatever, you want to see the whole entire process of your performance. So that's the most important thing, is the process of it, the actions that it takes for you to perform. And when we teach, imagery, we want you to practice, the movement of your body. We want you to see how you move your arm, what positions you need to be in to deliver the performance you need to do. If you're playing an instrument, how you're holding your instrument, how how you look when you're playing, or looking at your strings, or whatever, maybe if you're playing guitar, I don't know. But the first person allows you to really get that rep in, because you're doing it versus watching yourself do it.
Yeah.
So that's the real benefit there. So I teach, both. I mean, I would probably focus a lot more on the first person.
Great.
But we're human beings, so we actually, we try and see ourselves from the outside looking in, and that's just the way it starts. But that's a great start.
Cool. I think the other thing I would love to hear from you on, and I know that I have my own little game day routines, because I just think it's important to have routines when it comes to the day that you're performing. I think a lot of people race around too much, and they lack focus, or they're getting in a fight with their boyfriend or their mom or whatever, because they're stressed out, or they're making everybody else's lives hell. So I wanted to talk about, I'll say what my game day routine typically is, but just coming from your standpoint, how you would prepare or advise your clients to prepare when they have a performance, let's say that evening.
Okay.
For me, if I have an evening performance, I typically, it depends if I'm working that day, but let's just pretend it's a Saturday and I don't have soccer games for the girls. I'll wake up, relax, probably do some dishes, eat something that does not contain dairy, because the dairy always gets me too phlegmy. I will just try to chill and keep things really mellow. I'll also go for a run, because when I run, I warm up my entire body. And not everybody's a runner, and I highly recommend yoga if that's something that's, better for you, or you enjoy that more. And some people do both. Yoga is obviously also great for breathing, which we just talked about was so important. I'll go for a run. For me personally, when I run, it enables me to really focus, to be in the present, to enjoy nature, and also to focus on my set for that night. So when I'm running, I'm doing actually some visualization, and I'm kind of in my head rehearsing what's going to happen that night without even singing, without even using my voice. I take a warm hot shower, I steam so that I can, get everything nice and loose, and then I'll warm up. I'll do some vocal exercises, but not too many. Like, I think that's one thing I want to remind people: do not overdo it the day you have a performance as it pertains to doing vocal exercises, because by the time that your performance is that night, you're going to blow your voice out. So I'll do some light vocal exercises. And then again, I'll shower, chill, dry my hair, whatever, relax. Then as I get maybe like hour and a half prior to the actual me stepping on stage, I'll do my exercises one more time, but light. I'll just make sure I'm in it. And that all the cobwebs are out and all of that. And maybe I'll rehearse a couple songs or look at lyrics. I have a tendency to always forget lyrics at some point during a set. I don't care how prepared I am. At some point, it's a focus thing. I just either I'm enjoying myself too much or making fun of myself or something, and I forget lyrics. It's, as long as I've been doing this, I don't know that there's ever been a show that it's ever been a perfect show for me. So that's my routine, and it's been working for me for a while, but I know that there's different ways to do it. And I mean, I would love to hear your take on what could be successful for people.
Yeah, I would say first off, it really does depend on the individual.
Yeah.
You just give a pretty long example of what you do, and when you do that, I would ask you, how does it work for you? You typically feel pretty good about your performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would also say, I mean, when you forget lyrics, that's pretty normal, I imagine. I mean, it's not unheard of that happens. So, I really wouldn't stress that, but I would tell you, when we go back to the performance preparation, I would ask the client, I mean, tell me an example of a really good performance. Now, what did you do leading up to that? Okay. And then we'd probably identify some things that the individual did prior to the performance. And the goal would be to identify the things that we know that work. For you, it was going for a run, steaming, doing a little bit of rehearsal, or a little bit, and the physical practice of it. You had the physical in there, physically performing, seeing some vocal warm-ups, and then you also had the imagery, which you did while you're running. Combine the two, which is really good too. Maybe perhaps you said yoga, which is, relaxation techniques are very important, because you got to know, you just got to relax. And for some people that might not be the same. Some people might need to listen to raging music to
get pumped up,
get their adrenaline going, prior to, so they're ready to go. Some people need to go do weights, who knows? But it really does depend on the individual, and we would have to definitely identify key things and write them out. And then again, the goal is to be consistent. This is your pre-game routine, your pre-performance routine. It's what you're going to do before all performances. And on the flip side, maybe we have to identify some things that have not worked in the past. You know what I mean? So we can avoid those negative things. There's always some of those out there, but it really is about identifying what works. Okay. Then if there are aspects,
right,
and then you also want to streamline it too, because some people might only have an hour or two to prepare. So what can you get done in a few hours or less? It just depends. But yeah, that's what I would talk about with them.
No, that's a great point, because most of the time people don't have the whole day to just prep for their, show that night. Usually it is, okay, I got a gig at 9. I've got between 6:30 or maybe 7 and 9 to get my act together.
And you had a stressful day.
Yeah.
How are you gonna be ready to go?
Yeah. Or I've been in traffic on the 405 for 2 hours.
You're physically shot.
Yeah.
So you got to figure out a way to get focused, relaxed, ready to go. Then sometimes you're exhausted. How are we going to get on that stage and kill it?
Yes.
Sometimes you just got to tell your mind, I'm ready. You got to tell it, I'm ready to go. And 100% effort. You control that.
That's right. I love that. Okay, well, we're going to wrap up here, but before we do, I think you've already kind of given it to us, but if I were to ask you, what's the number one, if somebody says, what's the number one piece of advice that you could give me to avoid performance anxiety? Or, I know that's kind of a loaded question, but how would you, approach that or answer that question?
I mean, in this quick conversation, I would say taking deep breaths. That would be the start. While that might not be the number one thing, if we were to actually work together and talk about it, for most people I've talked to and worked with, that always helps them. And the key is you got to breathe correctly, obviously. And that's something I have to teach. But that would be probably the key number one thing I would go over with them first, because we got to get you present. And that's the fastest and easiest way for me to help them get present without teaching them all the mindfulness things they have to learn to recognize their thoughts.
I love that. That's so great. So if my clients want to, get some more information from you on what you do or get in touch with you, can you tell us how they can do that?
Yeah, they can email Gaetano.
Hold on, one more time.
They can email me. My email address is Gaetano, which is spelled Gaetano at mentaltraininginc.com.
Okay, so Gaetano, Gaetano at mentaltraininginc.com. That's awesome. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you for answering these difficult questions, and this was really fun. I appreciate you.
My pleasure.
Okay, I'm going to say goodbye.